Hello everyone. I hope you're doing well, even though it's been a couple of rough weeks. I am Diego. I am Professor Belen's assistant for the Grammar 2 course, and this is going to be a video to help you understand further some elements of grammar, which are aspect, modality, and voice. This is mainly to help you understand some of the exercises that you are doing currently. So let's get to it. First of all, we have aspect. I don't want to be the one doing all the reading from the PPT, but we have to understand the difference between aspect and tense. For instance, we only have two tenses, the present and the past. Grammatically speaking, we don't consider future as a tense because it doesn't have an inflection for the verbs. While, for instance, the simple has the third person singular s, and the past has the suffix ed. So, aspect. Aspect is the expression of the temporal structure of the action or state. So we are referring to actions that are ongoing, that are happening, or that have already finished. For instance, I like this sentence just because I feel it does the job. And it says the police have caught 12 thieves. Here we have the perfective aspect. Nothing new. You should have seen this in your English courses by now. And we also have the progressive aspect. It refers to ongoing action or states. The police are catching 12 thieves. Notice how I'm using the present tense. If this were the past tense, we will have to change it and put the word were. The police were catching 12 thieves. Obviously, we can mix both and have the perfective progressive aspect. The police have been catching 12 thieves. Simple. There also exists the simple aspect, but it's almost the same as the simple tense, so I'm not going to include it. Now we have modality. Modality is the easiest one of the three. It is the expression of possibility, necessity, or contingency, usually expressed through modal verbs. Professor Belen showed you an example. I think it's the key here. We have a cake should. You can also have the modals could, must, might, whichever one suits you. But you have to remember that should and could are the past tenses of shall and can. You always have to remember that. And finally, we have voices. We only have two voices, the active and the passive. As for the active, the subject of the sentence is the one performing an action, and the direct object is receiving the action of the verb. You'll probably hear about direct objects in the next classes in the course. But for now, we are going to explain the direct object as the element in the sentence that receives the action of the verb. For example, the police caught 12 thieves. We have a subject, the police. We have the past tense of the verb catch, caught, and we have an element receiving that action, which are the 12 thieves. Now we are going to passivize this sentence. To passivize something, you always need a transitive verb, something that allows the subject to have an effect on the direct object. In this case, it's 12 thieves. So we are going to place the direct object as the subject of the sentence. And we are going to end up with something like this. 12 thieves were caught by the police. If you have seen the passive voice either at high school or if you are in English 3 or 4 already, you'll know that you can include, or you can leave out this information, because we are focusing on the direct object being the one that is the one that is receiving the effect of the action. So 12 thieves were caught. That's the important thing. For instance, you could see this in a newspaper. This would be the title of the news: 12 thieves were caught. It doesn't matter, or it's not really important by whom they were caught. And finally, we have the process of passivization. You can use this process to identify transitive verbs from intransitive verbs. This is going to help you understand the difference between the transitive and intransitive, because you cannot passivize intransitive verbs. For example, the verb laugh, you cannot pacify that. Arrive, I've arrived, that doesn't have a direct object, so it's impossible to passivize. Okay. Now we're going to move to the practice. We're going to add aspect, modality, and voice. I'm going to do it a little bit differently from the one that you have already done with Professor Belen. I'm going to start with the most simple sentence, which is: the police catch thieves. Okay? We have the subject, the verb, and the direct object. We have present tense, present aspect. Nothing to highlight from here. Now, the first thing we are going to do is change the active voice for the passive voice. So first, we are going to move the thieves. I'm going to add a number also. 12 thieves. This element becomes the subject. 12 thieves are caught. Remember that you have to use the correct form of the verb to be. In this case, because I'm using a verb in the present tense, we have to use the present tense. And because it is a plural subject, we have to use are caught. We have to always add the correct participle of the verb by the police. Okay? The correct form of the verb to be plus the participle of the verb. Now, we're going to add the progressive aspect. 12 thieves are being. This implies that the action is currently happening. Are being caught by the police. You only add elements. Okay, it's going to seem a little bit confusing at first, but you'll get used to it. 12 thieves are being caught by the police. And now we are going to add the perfective aspect. 12 thieves have been. I've replaced the are with have been. We still need that progressive aspect, which is in this case being, and we maintain the participle of the verb and by the police. 12 thieves have been being caught by the police. If it is too complicated for you to understand at first, this sentence, I may recommend you to think about it in Spanish, even though Spanish is forbidden. If you're having too much problems, you can rationalize it by thinking about it in Spanish. 12 thieves have been, perfective aspect, being, progressive aspect, caught, passive voice. Okay? And finally, we're going to add modality. 12 thieves should, the past of shall, have been being caught by the police. This is an extremely rare sentence. You're not going to see something like this very often, but it is correct. Okay, so now we are going to do the opposite. We are going to remove the changes. Okay, so we have the same sentence. 12 thieves should have been being caught by the police, and we're going to remove first of all the progressive aspect. So we eliminate this element. 12 thieves should have been caught by the police. We remove the ongoing action. Now we remove the perfective aspect. The action is no longer finished, so 12 thieves should be caught. Okay, and finally we are going to remove the passive voice. The police should catch 12 thieves. Okay, we take this element and turn it into the subject of the sentence. Now, you have something similar in your practice key from Professor Belen. She's baking a cake. A cake has been baked. Okay, add perfective and passive voice after adding the progressive aspect. A cake has been being baked. And after we add modality, we have a cake should have been being baked by her. Okay, it's similar. I used plural subject for you to think about. And finally, I'm going to show you some combinations. One combination of the passive voice with some tenses. For example, Elise will be promoted by her boss. Some of my classmates had problems with the combination of passive voice and some tenses. So this is for you to, I'm using this to remind you that you can have the passive voice with every tense. So this is an example. Elise will be promoted because the future doesn't have an inflection. We need the auxiliary verb. So Elise will be, this is the correct form of the verb to be, and this is the participle of the main verb. Elise will be promoted by her boss. Okay, so that's going to be everything. I hope you don't fall asleep watching this video and that you have a nice week. Goodbye.